Hi everyone, welcome back. So today I'm going to show you how I went from this sleepy fox to this sleepy fox using Prismacolors on UArt sanded paper. So when I started the video, I kind of forgot that I was actually doing videos. So I just forgot. I'm sorry. So we started out the video a little late, but I had the general outline of my fox, and then I started doing the background, and I really didn't use that many colors in this whole piece. I used 3 different shades of blue, a white, a black, actually 4 different shades of blue, a white, a black, and 3 different shades of brown tannish. I'm gonna go with tannish. And as you can see, I started out the background thinking I was gonna do it one way, and really that's not what I decided on. And here's where I finally decided exactly what I was gonna do. That I was going to do the fox in a lovely little snow scene. So I'm just laying down the lightest color of my blue for the highlights of the snow right now. And I sharpen my pencil because, well, sanded paper eats through a lot of pencil, in case you didn't know. But it's great to work on. I can't tell you, I could have layered over this a gazillion times probably with these Prismacolors. Decided on putting a little snow hill in there. Now I keep going over and layering because I want to make sure that I have enough layers on the paper when I actually blend it all out, that it blends out smoothly and covers the paper and I don't have to go over it again and blend it out again. I'm kind of lazy that way. I don't like having to do that. So I just went in and did, my mid-tone of my blue again on the snowflakes, and now I'm going in and doing them on the snow itself under the fox, making sure that I have some shadows underneath him so it doesn't look like he's just sleeping in the air over the snow. And now I'm going in and doing my darkest areas and the darkest shadows under him. And what you see when I go off camera for a second is me actually shaking out my hand. My hand gets really tired. I have carpal tunnel and tendonitis, so I shake it out and kind of exercise it a little bit in between doing stuff, and I've just edited all that part out for you so that you're not sitting here saying, God, she's shaking her hand a lot. That's boring. Now I'm going back up into the sky and darkening up that again, adding another layer of the dark blue before I blend it out. And no, I don't make you watch all of that either. Kind of cut it out pretty soon, I think. And now I've gone in to start blending it out. I'm using odorless mineral spirits. I actually use Mona Lisa brand. It doesn't take much to blend them out, but as you can see, it fills that paper right in. I've got enough layers on there, and it's filled that tooth right in of the sandpaper. I try not to go directly over those lightest snowflakes so that I don't blend them completely out, but I go over them very lightly just to blend them in a little bit. We want them to stay nice and light, so, you know, if I blend them out completely, then that won't happen. Although, with the sandpaper, I could probably bring it back pretty darn well. And I'm just going in and blending out the snow now and the shadows underneath them. It's crazy the difference that the odorless mineral spirits make in blending, and just how easy it is to get the coverage and those every bit of the teeth filled in. Now I just took the lightest part of what was left on the paintbrush after blending it out and went back over those snowflakes. And I'm sorry, apparently when I edited and restarted the camera, I had a bad angle. So I'm sorry about this angle, but I promise it doesn't last long. I cut out a lot of it. I just kind of went in with a very, very light color and colored in his body, and then with the dark brown went in and did the eyes and the ears. So now you can see what I actually accomplished in that crappy lighting and crappy view that you didn't get to see. And so, yep, his very lightest color is in, and I'm just kind of adding in the details to his face and nose. Not paying too much attention to the detail there because that is going to get blended out. So if I spent too much time on the detail, then it would just disappear anyway. I am going back and forth between black and dark blue here though on the nose, just to give it a little bit of extra depth. Never want to use just straight black. And then I pull in a little bit of light gray, brushing away some pencil shavings. And I'm gonna go in and fill in the lines of his ear, the darkest part of his ears, with my very dark brown. And now I'm starting to add in the mid-tone. It's actually goldenrod is the color that I'm using there for the mid-tone of his fur. And I am paying close attention to the way that I move my pencil so that it moves in the way of his fur. So the same direction. You want to make sure when you're doing fur or hair that you pay very, very close attention to the directionality of your strokes. And I know even though I'm going to blend this out, it is on the sanded paper, so the strokes do still show up to a decent degree, honestly. Kind of blocking in the area that's going to be the darkest shadow there in his fur. And yes, I did move my pencil sharpener after making this video because I realized that my arm just keeps getting in the way. I'm going in and lightening up, putting in the lightest highlights with the white, where I want to make sure it stays nice and light on the paper before I blend. And a little bit of shadowing on the muzzle, under the muzzle, so that it defines his bottom jaw better. Just going in and adding a few more layers before I blend out to make sure that everything gets in the tooth and the paper gets covered. And I had a little too much paint thinner on there when I started. That's why I took a little tissue and kind of put it underneath so it didn't drip into my snow. But as you can see, it didn't actually damage what I was doing at all. I do try to avoid the darkest areas while I'm doing the light ones, because I don't want them to blend too much into that light color. Little smudges into it around that area itself are fine, but I definitely don't want it to go from that dark brown into my goldenrod on the face. And I took and I completely cleaned off my colored, or the brush, in order to go into the white and blend that out and fill in the tooth of the paper there before I did that, so that none of the other color got in there. And you always want to make sure that you put the cap back on the mineral spirits when you're all done using it, because even though it's odorless, it doesn't mean it's not toxic. It just means you can't smell it. So the fumes are still going into the air, the toxins are still going into the air, you're still breathing them in, and you just want to make sure you're not doing that. Cover it up when you're not using it. I've gone in and I've kind of brought back out my blues and the lightest shades of the blue of the snow, and I'm doing my highlights and shading now underneath the fox. Kind of gonna really pop them off the page. Just add in that extra little bit of detail and love. Going in, adding the shadows and the darkest parts to him before I go back and bring out those highlights even more of the snow. And you see my pencil, I try and make sure it's always sharp, because it just makes a huge difference in the lines that you get and the details that you can get. If you don't have a sharp pencil, then it just doesn't lay down right on the paper at all. See, my pencil wasn't sharp in the beginning there, so you actually saw me sharpen the pencil and then go back down and redo those ones on the bottom. And now I'm just going to add in that darkest shade of the brown that I've used to do his shadows and the darkest part of his coat. I'm actually using, it's a parchment paper type of material is what I'm using underneath my hand there, to make sure that I don't smudge any of the work that I've already done. Going in with that mid-tone and adding a few more details. I'm really not pressing very hard with the pencil either, but every layer you gets a little bit darker with the details. So, press light and you can get a lot done. Kind of blending it in together, one over top of the other. I don't use any more odorless mineral spirits on this to blend out at all. I just use the pencils themselves to blend in with each other. Again, though, I don't press very hard to get it to do that. Adding the whitest highlights. Giving his face a lot of definition. Probably a good thing that most people that commission artwork don't get to see this whole process, because they would probably get to about that point and be like, oh my god, what have I done? Am I really gonna pay her that much money to do that? Just going back in, and I just keep adding details after detail, layer after layer. You know, I had clearly too many highlights in there, so I just went in and went over those and redefined them. And I'm using the darker one again, the darker brown again, to go in and add more definition and contrast in the fur. Kind of redefining the shadow area on his body. And using that mid-tone to go back over where I might have gotten too much of the dark or too much of the light. Defining out his face even a little bit more. Every little step you take adds just another dimension to the piece. It's definitely easier to do it in steps though, and that way you can kind of see one thing at a time and then take a nice look at the whole piece and say, well, now this part needs that, or that part needs this, and then you can go back over and fix that out. I decided I took out too many highlights up on the top there, so I went back in, and down there I was actually using it more to blend together those mid-tones and the dark tones. You see a lot of pauses at this point for me to stop and shake out my hand because I'd been drawing for a couple of hours at that point straight to get them all finished up. And then I'm just going in and kind of darkening up the sky again. Signing and making sure that all of my shadows are good. The sky is dark enough against the snowflakes so that they can pop off the page a little bit too. Working off the paper there a little bit, I guess, but just brightening up those snowflakes. And that's it, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you next time.